What's up and welcome. Today on Optimize and Thrive, we are going to dive into the topic of regenerative medicine. And specifically, we're going to be looking at an incredible new compound that we are absolutely obsessed with because of the amazing effects that it has in the regenerative space and in turning on your body's own regenerative powers. Welcome to Optimize and Thrive, Dr. Angela.
Yes. Hi, Barry.
So
It's
great.
so great to be back. Yeah, it's been a long time. And we are coming back on fire because we have so much to share and so many new ideas and therapies that you guys are going to be blown away, honestly.
Today, we're really excited because we're talking about a new biologic product that is called EverCelle Cell Factors. And EverCelle Cell Factors is one of those things that when you hear about it, you can't help but get crazy excited about it. And where can I get it? I want it right now. Like, sign me up.
100%. Yeah. And, actually, you mentioned a word, and I got a question about this yesterday. What is a biologic? And because people are, what did that mean, actually? And it's an extract from, they're going to say, a once living product. And so that could be, so when people talk about stem cells or exosomes, or this is a placentally derived extract, and we'll go more into this, those are biologics, because you're going to hear that word a lot through our shows from now on, I think.
Yeah, we'll definitely be
Yeah.
talking about biologics more and these types of products more, these regenerative products, because people are obsessed with reversing age and reversing damage, getting their body back to a state where it's functionally and optimized, not only optimized, but it's just functionally able to do the things they want to do on a daily basis. And especially as we're getting into our 30s, our 40s, our 50s, or 60s, or 70s, we have accumulated a ton of different damage, right? And inflammation and issues. And people are increasingly turning to these types of regenerative therapies to help reverse, restore, repair function. Things like peptides as well kind of fall into this category of regenerative medicine. But these biologics are unique in that they're derived from once living tissues or DNA or cell. That's what stem cells, and then stem cells kind of evolved into exosomes, which is an even more refined version. And then cell factors, EverCell factors, is now the next generation of these communication, these signaling, these regenerative molecules. So we're going to take a deep dive on it today, how it works, how we've used it, how it's used clinically, how people can apply it into their own life, a little bit about how it works, how it's derived, et cetera. But it's going to be a fun, wild ride. It's a really cool topic today, and it's something that, moving forward, you're just going to be hearing a lot more about.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's incredible that I love is that I feel like we're moving into an era of medicine that really it's way less. We're moving away from like treating just disease state, right? Just treating the symptom, right? Oh, you have this diagnosis now. We're just going to give you the 2 to 3 medications that treat your symptoms. And we're moving towards like, okay, how do we actually really move away, heal the disease state, heal the rest of our tissues, prevent that disease state from ever happening, right? How do we optimize those tissues? How do we get back to where we began? Which it's incredible, like, and I mean in life, right? Like, it's incredible when you think about the healing potential you have when you're younger. You watch your kids, right? They get cut or something, or they have a flu. It's like one day they are completely better. You're like, how is that even possible? It's like, oh, we used to be able to do that. And with the technology, with the cell factors, we are able now to support the body to move back into that state.
Yeah, there's a little bit of that science, fiction turning into science fact, this idea of, the fountain of youth, restoring youth. Well, when you think about it, the cellular function, the ability of your cells to regenerate, restore, repair, that doesn't actually go away, right? So that's not the thing that changes from when we're a kid, or even when we're in our teens, when we're in that 18 to 22, we're super resilient, bounce back, tons of energy. Yeah, everything heals faster. It's just like those cells, they still have that same functionality they had when we were younger. But what happens is the environment changes so much inside of our body, and the communication between cells changes so much. And increasingly now in regenerative medicine, what we're seeing, what the technology is demonstrating, is that if we can restore the communication between cells, if we can get them the blueprints that they used to have, if we can kind of give them the program that they used to run, our cells can turn back on. They can turn back on. They can do the things that they used to do when we were younger. and we can feel that feeling again.
It's so incredible. Like, I mean, really, when you think about it, it is, I mean, it's hard to believe that this is science fact, right? I love that science fact that we actually can, over a series of time of treatments, help those cells recover and restore the metabolic ability to repair themselves and to communicate then to the rest of the tissues, and this is every tissue, which is incredible. This is the brain, this is, of course, like repairing muscle tears, repairing, tendon, ligaments, repairing bone, repairing hormone excretion, right? So glandular repair. Like it's every level that we're able to address because you're taking, or you're introducing signals that are basically it's every single signal that in the body that requires healing or that pushes healing, which is how fascinating is that?
Yeah, no, it's super fascinating. And you kind of look at the condition that we're in as we age, where we have this chronic inflammation state. So where we have a chronic inflammatory fire alarm going off for most people,
Most people, yeah.
right? But
For various reasons.
for various reasons,
Yeah.
oftentimes connected to lifestyle, diet, and then autoimmune conditions that have now arose over time from chronic and systemic inflammation and dysregulation, miscommunication. All of this starts to kind of accumulate and kind of gets lumped into this inflammatory state that most people are in. That you can trace a lot of disease states back to it.
Hmm. For sure. Oh, 100%. You can. Yeah. And, and of course, there's various reasons for every person why you end up there in whatever place that you're in. And part of it is genetics too, over time, those assist or sometimes, impact your ability over time to repair. And we're not going to be able to change those genes. However, we can help the body move the things out that maybe we're having difficulty moving out. So, for instance, right, mold exposure, just as a for instance, right? So, some people, two people can live in a moldy house and one is sick and the other's not. Well, why is that? What's happening? A lot of times we're finding it's the genetic or the resource ability to be able to excrete those mold toxins, right? So what if we improve for that person who's sick, their ability, their cell strength, their ability to move those things out to process to help the liver? It's completely possible, right? It's completely possible. And then because genes function on a like a scale, right? So they have the ability to kind of overproduce and underproduce. And when things are optimized, they actually perform better. And so you think, well, you can't really change your underlying genetic state. Well, actually, you can work on repairing their ability to express themselves. And so, I mean, we're getting down to kind of like that basic level of your existence that actually can be improved, which is incredible. So when we're thinking, if someone's sick, and they're like, well, it was because I was exposed, I had chemical exposure, I had heavy metal exposure, I grew up in a moldy house, or all of those things, or I had, toxic, I grew up on toxic food, right? Like that.
Or just an everyday environment that we live in. I mean, we kind of live in a toxic environment, stress, microplastics. I mean, we look at all of the different hormone dysregulators, disruptors out there, and so many of the products that we use on a day-to-day basis. And we look at the quality of our food. I mean, even if you're trying to kind of eat well or eat clean or watch what you eat, it's still very easy to be taking in all different types of substances that ultimately dysregulate those communication systems, dysregulate and create that cellular mess that also is part of the problem, right? Driving the inflammation cycles, right? So that environment, it can be very difficult to course correct, even when you're trying to be very intentional.
I love what you said, like cellular mess. That's exactly it, right? And this is kind of like our cleanup crew that comes in and it's like coming in and bringing all the cleaning supplies and going, hey, you guys have noticed you've been out for a while. Like here is like where we're uploading you Amazon delivery of all these things, like, and it's like, oh, let's get to work. Let's start pushing this stuff out. Things are functioning better. Like it's a reset.
Yeah, and that's really when you think about it. So if you kind of step back and you think, okay, everybody is essentially in some kind of inflammatory condition, dealing with some kind of inflammatory issue. And then generally speaking, we can look at like cellular function, and specifically we can look at mitochondrial function. We can say, man, the mitos, they're all whacked out. They're not producing ATP at the level that they should be. They're really struggling. And when they struggle, then that's that whole cascade of like all the energy issues, right? All the function issues, all the brain fog, all that stuff. So much linked back to our mitochondrial function, right? So if we say there's a cellular mess going on, and there's all these inflammatory signals, the body's not communicating, these cells aren't communicating with each other, there's hormone dysregulation, there could be all kinds of substances inside of our body that are disrupting and messing with our detox pathways, all this stuff, right? EverCelle Cell Factors comes in now into that situation and helps to immediately start the cleansing, clearing, and the suppression process of those inflammatory states, right? So that's its primary function at first blush. Is it's kind of like that weighted blanket, just like, man, it's calming the whole system down. It's helping to upregulate the processing and the detox regulation, right? It's helping to then bind with these cellular receptors, these cellular messaging components to say, hey, guys, like bring it, turn this down, turn this up, let's enhance this function. And then it starts to reactivate and re-engage that regenerative process, right? It's the wait a minute, we got a problem. Here's what we need to do. It's the emergency protocol that it's based, and it's just talking directly to the cells. And it's saying, what we're doing now is not working. Let's run this new program.
It's yes. And what we're finding is that like any sort of healing process, you're going to build upon it, right? And I see this with many different kind of, working on repair or cleansing protocols that when you initially start, that first beginning part of starting to receive these, healing signals and molecules that I mean, we've all, I think, experienced a detox, even if you've just like come off of coffee for a few days, right? And it makes you a little bit tired, right? So sometimes in the very beginning, because the body is like, okay, we're having a push out of things, it makes, while everything's repairing, you can initially, sometimes you feel amazing, like, it's incredible energy. And the other times makes you feel, it's like the body's calming, feels a little calm, tired. And then, but the cool thing is that we're only going up from there, right? We're starting to build a corrected system, right? We're starting, what I love is that the mitochondria are energy makers, and they're in every single cell in our entire body, including our brain. And specifically, the EverCelle cell factors go and communicate to the mitochondria. This is incredible, and we see this in the research, to specifically repair themselves. And so when you have your base energy creator in your cell that is being specifically told, communicated to, and then responds, we can see it respond and start to repair the factory. We start thinking about like the factory is like coming back online.
Yeah, it's like, so your cells essentially have this self-regenerative, self-healing, right? Kind of, and then growth capacity to make new cells, better cells, healthier cells. And that is where these signaling messages within the Evercell, that's the message they're delivering, because they're derived from and they're born out of placental tissue. So why don't we talk a little bit about where the EverCell Cell Factor product comes from, how it's made, and that I think also can then help people understand why it works like it does.
So, cell factors, the EverCell cell factors, what it's derived from is, so this is a US based created product. And it comes from a single donor. And this has come from one of the founders of the company, which we'll be bringing on, Sanjeev Lal, incredible. They took this single donor through an extensive process of no, she had to pass everything basically. I mean, anything you can think of. No COVID vaccines, no adult vaccines, no history of any disease that you can think of, no autoimmunity, no alcohol use, no drug use. Her tested a bunch of genes, tested for cancer, like it's like 50 pages. Like she's like the perfect
Yeah,
human.
it's like it's
Yeah.
like 270
Yeah.
things or
Yeah,
something that she
right,
was
right.
tested for,
Yeah.
that had to pass the test, and essentially she was one that passed all of these.
All of these, yes. So then she gave birth, donated the placenta, and that placenta then was cryofrozen, and they were able to, through different lab techniques, to be able to take the mesenchymal stem cells, the stem cells from whole placenta, and replicate those, and then stress them to excrete all of these cell factors. And so essentially, when you are getting cell factors, you are getting the full communication signals that you would get if you were getting pure, what we call native or day zero stem cells. This is the stuff that people go to Mexico for.
This is the stuff that's like $40,000.
This is, yes, this is like pure
It's like pure
energetic.
life, basically. It's
Yes,
what it is.
it
It is like
is.
all of the specific, like protein signaling molecules, cytokines. It's a variety. It's a whole mix of different messaging molecules that are designed just actually to tell the body to like grow, live, repair. I mean, it's like this is like life force, basically.
It feels like life force when you receive it. To me, it does. Like that's the pure feeling. If I had to explain it, and so what they've done now is they've taken that extract from those stem cells and then taken it through a process where there are no cells left. There is no DNA, and they've sterilized the product, and it is now FDA compliant and basically just pure signal.
And it's able to be, it's they can replicate it. They have these bioreactors, and essentially they're making these signaling molecules, this incredible life force factor, and that gets lyophilized into a powdered form, and then that can be reconstituted with sterile water, and then it can be injected into the body via IV. You can go into an IV drip bag and be a push IV. It can be done sub-Q. It can be ran topically, microneedled into the skin, microneedled into the scalp, put into wounds. It has an incredible diversity of application when you look at how can we take and use this. Essentially, any condition, any disease state, any wound, any injury, any thing that's happening that we don't really love, like wrinkles or thinning hair, all of these things can be addressed via Evercell and combined with other therapies to enhance those other therapies. And that's where things get really wildly exciting, because Evercell alone has this tremendous capacity, but Evercell in combination with other peptides, other signaling messages, molecules, other compounds, other drugs is absolutely fantastic. It's shockingly effective at enhancing what these other compounds are doing.
It's a potentiator, right? So it's going to potentiate any other, amazing therapies that we're doing. So if you're thinking about, maybe you've heard of a healing peptide, right? Or a peptide combination.
Like a BPC 157 or a TB 500 or a GHKCU, like any of your classic like regenerative peptides. You can run those with Evercell, and you're amplifying the effect tenfold.
Correct. And so if you're thinking also like, maybe you weren't thinking about a PRP for your hair, right? Well, why use PRP? That's your own plasma, and
And if you're tired and down and your plasma and your plates and your cells are not in peak functioning state, well, your PRP is not going to be in peak function state too. And it's going to be it's a concentrated reflection of what you currently have.
exactly.
Now, it's not to say that it's worthless. It's not. I mean, there's value there, but it's so much less potent in its communication ability than something like Evercell, because Evercell is just that pure, from, like you said, day zero, pristine source that works then with all of that context behind it, right? It just works so much better.
And hasn't been exposed to toxins and lived 50 years of life, hasn't been just broken down over time, right? Which is aging, and you're bringing that complete energy back to whatever space that you're hoping to rejuvenate.
And people love it because, one of the things that holds people back from something like a stem cell or an exosome is the idea of injecting, this another person's DNA into whether, this whole idea of like these cells that they could go rogue, and there are concerns with that. Like with stem cells, with exosomes, there certainly can be some of those concerns. And we've seen some bad things happen coming out of those unintended consequences. Some can have a tumorigenic effect, can drive unwanted growth. And cell factors does not operate in that way. It does not drive unwanted growth. These can't potentiate. They're not cells, right? They can't turn into anything else. There is nobody else's DNA or cells in there. It's just this refined messaging molecule that tells your cells what to do and how to restore themselves and how to rebuild themselves and how to repair themselves.
And I think this could be a good time to kind of talk about our own experience with them.
I think so.
Yeah. For the treatments I've had, I've had them IV and as an IV push. And so pretty fast, right? Pretty amazing that you can get such a powerful therapy in such a short amount of time, but it's kind of awesome. Everybody's busy, right? So, I was vibrating, and not in an uncomfortable way, like you've had too much coffee or caffeine. I was vibrating. It felt like life, which is kind of hard to explain until you experience it. But my brain was buzzing, my body was buzzing, like I couldn't sleep, and it felt amazing because my brain was just like on fire in a good way, right? Just like alive, and and then, that died down after like a few days, but what carried on is that all of these little areas in my body that, of course, over time we get little injuries, little tweaky things, have been repairing, like even an acute kind of injury that I had with my shoulder at CrossFit that I've been working on, and I've been doing my PT exercises and all of that and rehabbing it. And within like a few days after my second treatment, it was like 85% better. I was like, how is that even possible? I don't know. It just incredible. My experience has been incredible.
Yeah. So I've had 5 treatments now with Evercell. And the way you think about Evercell is something that you can get both for an acute state, an acute condition, like say something happened and you're going to go get a treatment, but it's also something that you can run as part of your ongoing optimization and foundational health protocol. And our goal is that everyone listening, that is one day your experience. Like I believe that this is one of those compounds that if we can get this into a protocol and into a stack with some other peptides that I like to run it with, and you run that every month for the rest of your life, the quality of your life and the quality of your health and your ability to deal with things, resiliency, restore, repair, how you look, literally every function, your brain, your energy, your mood, all of these things can be radically transformed and sustained and maintained with the help of this compound in combination with some other compounds. So for me personally, after 5 treatments, it was really after the 3rd treatment that I recognized really significant shifts in my overall state, and brain function improved, faster, sharper, better. It was really almost as if nothing could take me offline. 4 hours of sleep, no big deal. One too many glasses of wine last night, I feel excellent. It's not possible to have too many glasses of wine now. I mean, it was just like I am like bulletproof. It's just like this is incredible. Chronic conditions, I've had a number of them. Tendinitis in my left elbow, tennis elbow. Chronic issues with this left shoulder. I just woke up. It was like a couple days after that 3rd treatment, and they were gone. I was like, oh my God, they're all gone. Everything was gone. My sense of smell changed. It was enhanced. I feel like my eyesight improved. I mean, it was like, what is happening to me?
Superman.
It was a little bit like, like that. What was that great movie in the 80s where all the old people jump in the pool?
Yes. Yeah. I
With
almost
the
had
alien
it.
tech or
Yes,
whatever it is.
yes, in
You
the
guys-
cocoon or
The
something.
cocoon.
Yeah,
The cocoon. I
yeah,
think it's
yeah,
good.
yeah. Look, it worked. The old
Boom, recall.
there we go. Recall. There we
Evercell
go.
recall. So just suffice to say, I'm a believer. And I think that this is something that, other really interesting thing. So I run retatrutide, GLP-3, triple agonist, and it's, phenomenal, miraculous, amazing compound, one of my favorite compounds. And I was running a maintenance dose of around 8 milligrams a week. And again, it was after that third treatment that I had to back way off of that, way off. So I dropped from 8 to 2.
And why? Why did you do that?
Because the effect was way too strong. I mean, I couldn't handle 8 anymore. Like, it reset. And what we've seen, and now we've seen this is a known result of running the Evercell. It resets and retunes and repairs your cellular receptor system, right? So that's why it potentiates other compounds, because it makes your cells more sensitive. It refreshes and kind of dusts off those like receptor binding sites, right? So when those other molecules come in, it's much easier for them to attach and influence, right? So I didn't need 8 milligrams anymore. 2 did the job. And now that I run Evercell on a monthly basis, I'm just running 3 milligrams of Retta. And I have no need to go up. It just kind of gets reset to that nice sweet spot every single month.
Which I love, because I mean, how many people do we know that they've worked themselves up to kind of the max dose of whatever GLP-1 they're on?
Yeah, especially all of our tirzepatide folks out there on the TERS, and they're running 15 milligrams, and that food noise is creeping back in. Yeah, they're just like, man, what do I have to reset? But then the idea of taking 3 or 4 weeks off can be pretty tricky, can be hard. And so repairs, restores, and resets those receptor sites. So it's incredible for people who are running GLPs. We've also seen it impact and affect other medications that people need less to get more.
Yeah, kind of like, so, testosterone as one of those things. We're seeing that people can lower their dose. And maybe, that's all like dependent on you and your labs and, with you and your doctor. But like, it's something that's interesting, right? Or it makes the thing that you're doing more effective, which everybody always enjoys, especially when you're optimizing your hormones, right? So, yeah, it makes everything better.
It does. And it's also really exciting for topical applications. So for those of us who, as we are stepping into our power years, our prime years, I turned 50, of course, last year, this is awesome. So this is one of those things that you can get into it in a smaller dose, and it can be applied via a variety of different mechanisms and tools, whether that's a microneedling or like a Potenza microneedling device, or like a new device that we're really big fans of called the Juvasonic, which uses kind of sonic waves basically to push compounds into the skin. It's a phenomenal compound. It can be needled into the scalp for hair restoration, regeneration, to reactivate those cells and get them communicating again. So it really has such a broad appeal and a broad application. And because it's lyophilized, it's shelf stable, this is something that it's easy for clinicians to work with. And it can be deployed quite quickly. So from a patient experience, from a person experience standpoint, this isn't one of those like horrific, long, tedious protocols you have to go through. It just takes minutes.
Yeah. And can be combined with typically the other things that you're doing and make them even more amazing. So if you're on a peptide stack, along with your hormone optimization, and any other thing that you're doing, like as far as like if you're lifting and you're working on body recomp, a fantastic addition, not only for like healing all of your injuries, right? Because you're going to have that if you're lifting, or any sort of significant exercise usually. Yeah, it's just, all of the recomp, the things that your goals are just going to improve.
Yeah, no. So after listening to this, I mean, just talking about it, I'm like getting super hyped on it. I'm like, I just did Evercell like last week, but I'm like, I want to do it again right now. I want to do it again. Give me another one. But if you're wondering, well, where do I get it? And how much does it cost? And what are, I sign me up. And can I, just as an individual person, can I go purchase this? Well, you can't. So that's the downside. So if if you're getting ready for what's the bad news, or what's the downside of this amazing, miraculous, incredible compound? Well, and this isn't so much bad news, but it's just the way it works. Just like you can't go to 7-Eleven and get exosomes, or down to the Target and pick up some cell factors, or stem cells. Yeah, this is a clinical program, right? It's combined with clinical protocols and clinical oversight, medical oversight. So this is something that is a physician, clinician use only, or a place that, has a medical director program. So med spas, et cetera. That's where you can potentially find Evercells. Now, transparently, it's very, very new, and there's not a lot of places that carry it. So if there is a place that you want to carry it, you need them to get a hold of us, and we can work with your local clinician, practitioner, naturopath, integrated functional med doc, regenerative, care facility, whatever, IV clinic, and we can get them a supply so that you can get a supply and that you can benefit. And if happen to have a clinicians listening in or tuned in, this is an incredible thing to bring into a clinical setting. And we'll cover that in a whole other episode. We'll talk just about what that could look like. But yeah, this is a medical use only type of thing. It needs to come through a medical provider.
Yeah. Well said. I would say immediately, like, go to your provider, or if
you're here local,
come here,
Sage.
come to
You
Sage
can come right now to Sage.
Yeah.
Like you can well, not tomorrow, but like you can make an appointment and you can get this protocol right now.
Right. It could be tomorrow. Although, we don't know what tomorrow is when you're listening to this podcast. It might be Saturday. So then you can't come on Saturday, but you can come on Monday. Yes.
Maybe you're pretty booked.
I
think you should take that back. You probably could not.
Okay.
Just make an appointment. But
if
you're interested, you want to explore, you can talk to us here. Obviously at Sage, we're able to offer this. And then, if you're not here, if you're not local and you want to fly in, you can also do that. I have one of my good friends, John. He's going to be flying in March, and we're going to be giving him the full meal deal. He has a rotator cuff tear that's been driving him absolutely insane. We're going to combine this with exosomes and with a whole host of protocol that is going to be absolutely transformational for his injury. So those kinds of things, you do not have to fly to Mexico. And in fact, you can't get this in Mexico. They don't have this. We have it right here.
Yes. You can't ask for EverCelle Cell Factors in Mexico because they won't have it. They're going to have to send you back across the border, And
it's much less than a $40,000. So if you're wondering how much does it cost, it does not cost $40,000.
Yeah. I would say it's actually very reasonable. I mean, it's extremely reasonable for what it is.
And the price kind of depends on the protocol and the procedure and what you're doing with it. But yeah, feel free to reach out if you want more information. You can check it out at evercell.com. If you also want to just learn more about it, message me directly, message Angela directly. If you're out there and you want to join my school, feel free to join my school. That's www.skool.com/optimize. You can message me in there. This is something that I will be bringing into that community more and talking about more, as we do have a lot of clinicians and practitioners inside my school. But this is definitely one of those compounds that is going to change. I mean, it has changed the game when it comes to regenerative medicine, and I think it's going to transform the world, and I would like to see it transform you.
Absolutely. And if you have questions, I mean, we would love to hear them, because we understand that for a lot of people, this can be a new topic, right? This is can feel like a new frontier and like almost like magic, right? And we understand that, you might need more information, and we want you to reach out. We would love to hear your questions.
We love it. So put this one on your radar. EverCelle Cell Factors is one of those compounds that once you hear about, you cannot sleep until you figure out how you're going to get it. At least that was for me anyways. And now, of course, we have such an incredible opportunity working with the founder, Sanjeev, who also sits in our board. He's our chief kind of scientist officer. He really helps influence and inform and help us in our mission, which is to get EverCell out there to more people. So we'd love to talk to you. We'd love to connect, and we'd love to find a way for you to experience these kinds of transformational results. And until the next time, let's optimize and thrive.
Absolutely. Be well.